Here's a story that's perfect for esoteric worldviews. It turns out that Colin Batley, leader of a sex cult in UK, who has been preying on children and doing all kinds of freaking obscene things, is reported to have been heavily influenced by the great beast himself, Aleister Crowley. Ooh, so all of you Crowley fans are definitely not going to like this. You know, I used to research a little bit of Crowley myself, and you know, he has an incredible mind. I'll give him that. You know, he just has an incredible mystical mind, and he has an incredible ability to understand a lot of magical things intellectually. But he obviously doesn't read in between the lines. You know, if he's on this incredible dark left-hand path, either that or he was doing it on purpose in order to do whatever end that he thought he was achieving. But either way, the first time that I read, or I looked into him, I found some manual on like how to sacrifice animals and stuff, and I'm like, okay, no more researching this guy. So I put him aside, and then a year or two later I picked it back up and I read the Book of the Law, and I actually I have a Thelemic book sitting in my shelf right there. Thelema is the religion that he founded. You know, it has to do with a lot of Golden Dawn type stuff, and you know, practical magic for, as he calls it, communing with the holy guardian angel, or you know, attaining this risen state, like Osiris risen, this enlightened state, or this magical consciousness. And so he advocates all kinds of crazy stuff. On theguardian.co.uk, it says that the cult is said to have been inspired by the late Aleister Crowley, the late mystic and magician nicknamed the Great Beast, who in 1904 published a text called Book of the Law, extolling permissive sex. During the 5-week trial, the prosecution claimed the book formed the basis for Batley's organization, and he would read from a laminated copy of it while dressed in hooded robes at the start of orgies. Batley insisted that no cult existed, but the jury found him guilty of 35 offenses, including 11 rapes, 3 indecent assaults, causing prostitution for personal gain, and causing a child to have sex, and inciting a child to have sex. So let me read from you the part of the Book of the Law which they're talking about. This is Book of the Law, chapter 2, verse 22. I am the snake that giveth knowledge and delight and bright glory, and stir the hearts of men with drunkenness. To worship me take wine and strange drugs, whereof I will tell my prophet, and be drunk thereof. They shall do no harm ye at all. They shall harm me not at all. They shall not harm ye at all. It is a lie, this folly against self. The exposure of innocence is a lie. Be strong, O man. Lust. Enjoy all things of sense and rapture. Fear not that any god shall deny thee for this. I am alone. There is no god where I am. Ooh, that might be true, you know. There might be no god where he is, which is in the very dark, deep places of hell, or the talas, patala to be specific. And all those subterranean netherworlds that the Vedas talk about, there might not be any god down there. You know, and the Vedas speak of that and I'm going to go out on a limb. All you guys who are not very, you know, familiar with esoteric stuff, I'm just speaking strictly from the Vedic knowledge. This is the most time-honored, deep and important tradition to humanity, the Vedic tradition in India. They say that there are these netherworlds which exist, where man is free to engage in all kinds of sense gratification, all kinds of means of gratifying the senses. And this is what it talks about here. Enjoy all things of sense and rapture, for there's no God where I am. And so this very well might be some kind of demoniac communication. You know, Crowley channeled, quote-unquote, this message when he was in Egypt. He started going into a trance. I forget the actual story, but he started going into a trance, or was it that his woman channeled it? Either way, that one of his, you know, playthings, or him, was involved in channeling this from Egypt. And so this is exactly the opposite of the true religion. This is exactly the opposite of the Vedas and of, you know, the religion that Jesus taught, which is that we're not meant to just completely go willy-nilly lusting after everything and taking up every little bit of sense gratification that comes our way, but rather we're meant to control our senses. In the Bhagavad Gita, it says that a yogi controls his senses in the way that a turtle withdraws his hands into his shell. So a yogi is not of the world, not of the material world. A yogi shuns the material world because a yogi knows that the spiritual world is there, and that is our true position, is to exist in that spiritual world where we don't desire for our own betterment in the terms of sex and wine and strange drugs, but rather we desire to engage in a loving relationship of service to the all that is, to the Creator, to the Lord. And so this is my opinion on the matter, and this is the Vedic opinion on the matter. So it's obvious to me now that Aleister Crowley was actually very dark. I don't know why it was so ambiguous to me before, but he was actually very, very dark. And there's a story of another famous magician named, what was his name? He created the fourth way, G.I. Gurdjieff, who invited Crowley into his house one time and had him stay there for 2 days and let him be there. And at the end of the second day, when Crowley was leaving, he stood on a high banister in his house and looked down at Crowley and extolled him and said, "You are filthy inside. Come back not here," or something like this. So, you know, there was definitely some indication that Crowley was into some dark shit, and this is what it produces. So you can know that it definitely was true that he was into some dark shit. You know, all you New Age people, not every single person that just pretends to be this, like, great warlock and this great, you know, spiritual teacher, they're not all that, you know. Just because they say some things or they might have a little bit of knowledge. You look at this guy, you know, he had some knowledge and he said a lot of inspiring things to people. But what did that turn out with? How did that turn out? You know, they're being led astray into chaos and insanity. So listen to your heart in these regards, and anything that sounds too crazy and outlandish probably is.